Hello. Thanks.
So, Tom, thank you very much for making the journey to see us this weekend. It's an absolute pleasure for you to be here. And I understand you're actually a Woking boy, aren't you?
Born and bred, Woking, City of Dreams.
So what's it like then for you to be kind of, because from Sleepy Hollow you've become this massive show, and now it's been doing phenomenally well. Season 1 renewed after a matter of episodes. Season 2 did very strongly. And now we've just heard, literally just within the last couple of days, that there's a season 3.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you? Because it seems like a whirlwind.
Yeah, a long way from the Rhoda McGaw Theatre in Woking. It's amazing. It was a complete surprise when I was even offered the part. I was saying earlier that I put myself on tape for it over here, and English actors always think when you put yourself on tape and it goes over there, it's shoved in the English pile that no one ever watches. But I must have slipped into the American pile, and a week later, I'd completely forgotten about it after I auditioned. And then a week later, they said, "You're flying to LA tomorrow to meet very important people." And I was cooking, I think. I was making dinner. And so it all happened very quickly before I could really take stock of it. And now 2 years have passed, and I'm still a little surprised that they're allowing me back on TV screens for a third year.
And it must be kind of, because you mentioned there the American kind of touched slightly on the American perception of the British, but what you've done with Ichabod, you've kind of changed that a little bit. You've added a kind of a really good dry sense of humour, a really kind of sense of wonder, and you've made what could have been a really stereotypically comedic character into something more rounded and more depth. Was that kind of your intention from the start?
That was a conversation, Len Wiseman, who's one of our executive producers and directed the pilot. When we first met, it was a big decision we made to really, really try to force Ichabod away from being a cartoon character. I don't think the show would work if the characters were too absurd.
Yeah.
And we completely agreed on that decision. He said, it's funny you'd say that English sensibility, they had auditioned lots of American actors for the part and didn't quite understand why it wasn't working. And it was only when they heard it in my monotonous English sardonic drone that they thought, oh, maybe that will work. Because there is something, in order to keep it away from being a cartoon character, there has to be this sense of wonder, and kind of, I like thinking that Ichabod's just very disappointed with how the world has turned out. That I think is something that's inherently English.
Yeah. And it is kind of fascinating because I can see what you mean there, because when an American does an English accent sometimes, it doesn't quite pan out as well. So there's when you've done it, it's like there's a real sense of authenticity as well to the character, and I think that's what makes it more real, because you can get that take of what it would be like if a British man from that time came to America of now, a country that he'd helped try to make into something else, and it's like, hang on a minute, what the heck is this? And it's just, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I particularly find it amusing watching Ichabod discover the gadgets and the facets of the life, and like a mobile phone or driving a car.
Yeah.
And it must be kind of, how do you, as an actor, learn to rediscover those through a completely different set of eyes?
That's the fun part, is taking stuff that we're just very familiar with, like a mobile phone, and forgetting everything I know about it. And if someone had never seen one of these before, like how does that even begin to work? Yeah. It's quite nice to see it through, to have a character where you're allowed to just have a childish sense of wonder about everything. And it's toasters.
Toasters. Who would have thought they ever had so much wonder?
Big cheer for toasters. Big fans here. There's people dressed as toasters outside.
To be fair, I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen some amazing things. But in terms of, for you, the Sleepy Hollow journey that you've been on, and the character of Ichabod in the last 2 years has gone on an insane journey. The arc that he's gone on, spoilers free.
Yes, I'll be as spoiler free as I can be. It was you'll see the finale of season 2 is very different to the finale of the first season. Whereas the first season was just cliffhanger-tastic. It had huge question marks over everything. The end of this season, it seems as though we wanted to have a few more answers, there's lots of things that are tied up.
Yeah.
And effectively we're left with a new group of people with a new challenge for the third season. I think it works quite nicely. When I think we start the second half in a week or two, isn't it? Something like that? The 22nd, thank you. So you'll see towards the end there's a nice tying up, but you're not shortchanged, certainly.
Certainly. It certainly is an interesting time for you, but I mean, the cast has kind of grown and evolved quite nicely together, and there does seem to be almost a sense of family amongst all of you when on the set. Was that kind of an immediate thing, or did that develop kind of slowly as it went on?
That was quite immediate. We're very lucky. There's no one in the cast is a tit.
That's such a brilliantly British way of putting it. It's amazing.
But it's also quite uncommon, unless that means I'm the tit. So I don't realise it. No, everyone's very nice, and from the very beginning, because the pilot, it was just me, Nicole, Orlando, and Katia.
Yeah.
And then throughout the first season, John and Lindy and now Sakina for season 2 join, and Neil, of course, who's swanning around somewhere with his pecs. Have all, and we just get along brilliantly, which is it's a relief more than anything. You spend all of this time with certain people. You hope that you get along with each other.
And for you as well, it must be interesting because, as we see now, short hair. When you're filming and I don't know if you had long hair before you started Sleepy Hollow.
No, it was a wig. It's been a wig from the beginning.
So when you have...
I had long hair once and I looked absolutely ridiculous. And I look at pictures it was about 10 years ago. When you go to drama school, you just grow your hair and you think you're very cool and you smoke roll-up cigarettes and drink bad wine and think that you're being bohemian, but you're just an idiot. And I look back and I think, why did no one tell me?
But it kind of come full circle now because you're on screen and everyone's loving the long hair.
And well, it's not mine. That's why.
But that's the thing.
And people spend hours in the morning making me look less like a drama student.
Is that the brief they gave you when you first saw the character? Must not look like a drama student.
Yeah.
But when you've got that on and you've got the costume on as well, that can be quite authentic and very heavy. What is it like to get used to that? Because it's not where you're filming. It's
horrible. It's horrible. It's genuinely horrible. It's really it's a big, heavy wool coat, and I don't know. Do we have anyone from North Carolina in the igloo? No. It's very hot and very humid, and running around woods in that is it's not fun. But I do it for you guys.
I bet when they were trying to bring Ichabod into like more modern clothes, you're going, yes,
please. T-shirt, shorts. That'll never work.
That'd be interesting. Ichabod at a beach next season.
There was talk of that. There was what would happen when Ichabod first saw a bikini.
Oh dear, the mind boggles.
Season 3.
It'd be Sleepy Hollow season 3 #bikini.
Quite.
Right, so if you have a question for Tom, feel free to stick your hand up and I'll bring my friend round too. We'll start with this lady.
Hi there. Is there any part of the character you don't like, would like to change or add to? I mean, I'd love to see him actually have a real fit of laughter where he can't control himself at one point and, has to turn away from Abby because he doesn't want to show that.
I think the things that are the easiest aspects about Ichabod to dislike are the things that characterize him best. Like the fact that you say you want to see him burst into a fit of laughter. The fact that he's so tightly wound and restrained says an awful lot about him and his current situation. There's moments when he's selfish, when he has selective hearing. There are moments when he's a tit. But they make up who he... I'd hate to have a drink with Ichabod, but I'm in love with him. Would I change anything?
Would you change anything about?
No, I don't think so. No, I think I think the writers have created a really nicely rounded, layered character, which I'm very grateful for. Thanks.
Question for this lady here.
Hi. I was a huge fan of Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow film. And
I'm really sorry, I can't hear that. Sorry.
I was a huge fan of Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow film. And
Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow.
I was quite sceptical when they said they were making a series, but you'll be pleased to know that we think it's absolutely amazing.
Thanks very much.
The only thing I'd like to complain about is the mid-season breaks. Can you please stop it? Because we're fed up of waiting.
I accept full responsibility
go back
for the scheduling of our show.
Yes,
and I apologise. I shall leave this igloo, find a nettle and flagellate.
Yes, you need to go back and complain.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much. And actually, it's funny you mentioned Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow, because when I started this job, between the pilot and starting season 1, when I was back here and people were saying, oh, so what is it? What are you doing? It's Sleepy Hollow. Ah, are you Johnny Depp? And they're horrible boots to have to fill. It's such an amazing director, and I'm a big Tim Burton fan, and that's one of my favourite Burton-Depp collaborations. And so I'll admit, that was in the back of my head for a long time, and I had to shake him out of my wig.
I have a question for this lady at the front.
Ciao Tom, I'm from Italy, as you know.
Ciao.
And I would ask this. I noticed that recently in Sleepy Hollow there is a large use of Latin and Italian terms to read ancient scrolls, to cast spells and so on.
Yeah.
Are you good in Latin or Italian? Do you know some words?
Good in Latin?
Or Italian?
My grandfather was very good at Latin.
Yeah.
And occasionally when I go over to his house, he'd test me on Latin, which I didn't speak Latin. And I was always a bit frightened of doing it wrong, or else I wouldn't eat. That's not true. With the Italian, I'm an Italiophile, and I have been to Italy countless times, and I've got some very good Learn Italian CDs, so my Italian, I think, is all right. I don't think Ichabod's spoken Italian yet. Oh, yes, that man, the family with the battery, who made the battery. That's right. I would like to speak more Italian in it, because it's the only other language I can speak, and I just want to show off. And also, you get to be Italian. Thanks.
And we have a question from this lady here.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
Hello. My question's about season 2, what we've seen so far. My favourite scene was between yourself and John Noble when Ichabod confronts Henry in Tarrytown, and you have that great sort of face-off.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to film that with John?
John, I mean, I don't need to tell anyone how classy John Noble is and how lucky we are to have him in the show. That particular scene, I don't know if, in case you didn't hear, the scene where Ichabod confronts Henry for the first time in Tarrytown Psychiatric, right? That went through 3 or 4 different drafts. simply because it's the first time that they meet, after finding out that Henry's his son and Horseman of War, and of course buries Ichabod. So it needed to be something big and memorable. And I kept saying, I kept telling our former showrunner Mark Goffman to go and watch The Seventh Seal, because it should be like playing chess with death. You know that you're not going to, you can't defeat this man in front of you. And as soon as I'd got in onto the set and sat at a table in front of John, it's strangely intimidating. Even though he's a very, very generous actor and the most delightful man you could meet, it's, you know, you're up against a powerhouse. So that was actually one of my favorite scenes to shoot. And also, actually, you don't very often get to just sit at a table opposite another actor and do a scene like that. You're always, especially with Ichabod, you're always mincing about the place, searching for old things. So to just sit down and argue with John Noble was a treat.
And we have a question from a gentleman here.
Hi.
Hello.
You said you had a big chemistry on set. Who would you say is the troublemaker on the set?
Troublemaker?
Yeah.
Katia Winter. She's unbearable to be around. She's Swedish, and she does this very strange, specific, regional Swedish accent that just makes me piss myself. And when I'm trying to be all very serious and actor, and she just says one of her lines in a stupid Swedish accent, her stupid, not all Swedish accents, it defeats me every time.
And we have a question from a lady here.
Hi, really enjoyed the show so far. I've just heard rumours online that season 3 is going to take a slightly different format and direction. I just wanted to ask you about that.
As far as I know, yes, we've got a new showrunner for season 3, a chap called Clifton Campbell. I don't know an awful lot yet, as we've only just been picked up a few days ago. As far as I know, it's I heard potentially they want to have a more episodic format. I'm sure there will still be overarching character stories throughout it. I have to give a very boring answer and say we'll have to wait and see. I'm really sorry. But yes, there will be a change of direction. I know that much.
And we've seen a lot of kind of play on different legends and different creatures throughout the Sleepy Hollow. If you could have your choice of any one of your favourite mythical creature or maybe, legend, what do you think you'd like to see in there for Ichabod to go up against?
Centaurs. I want to play a centaur. That's all I've ever wanted to do in my career. And it hasn't happened. I'm a failure, technically.
Oh.
There's that. I know that Nicole wants to be a mermaid. I've always been interested in banshees. I'd like to have a banshee. It's almost a shame it's in America. I'd like more UK myths and legends. I went to a really cool place the other day, the Rollright Stones. And there's a really cool story behind it where a king and his group of knights were just, walking about old England as you did when you were a king. And a witch confronted them and said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to become king of the whole of England. And she said, only if you can see the town round the corner. Witches. And so he walked up to the hill and there was this bush that appeared in the way, so he didn't see the town, so she turned him and all his knights to stone. And now there's the roll right stone circles. And I deeply regret telling this story. I'm so sorry, everyone.
If we know next season when we see like a story about rocks coming on there, we'll be like, aha, we know where it's going.
Yeah, I rather feel like I've turned to stone now.
Hi.
Hello, Hellboy.
Love the show, massive fan.
Thanks very much.
You've got such a great cast, and as you've said, you mesh really, really well off set and on set. Is there a particular actor or actress that you personally respect highly and would love to see either do a cameo or become a part of the series?
Oh, there are loads that I'd love to see. I tried to pitch an idea where Abby sends Ichabod to a psychiatrist. I'd quite like to see Ichabod with a shrink. And I said, but only do it if we can get Gene Wilder to play the shrink. Because I'd like Ichabod to sit down on a sofa for an hour and drive the psychiatrist insane. And I thought Gene Wilder would be very good. Season 3. Right to Fox. Everyone.
In terms of independence, when you were first aware of the script for the radio, did you then immediately, when you got the part, have to start learning more and more about it?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I mean, they don't teach us about wars that we lost at school. So I really didn't know anything. And it's funny because in America, lots of people say, oh, well, you know, we don't have any history. We don't have much history. But although it's short, it's really full of stuff and amazing characters throughout its short history. So yeah, every time a new person would appear, like Paul Revere and Franklin and the Adamses, I'd have to go and do research. I say I have to, I got to do research. It was really nice, actually. But no, I wasn't really familiar, which actually, it's nice. Thanks very much for watching over here, because I wasn't sure how it would translate when it's another country's history that we're not too familiar with, how engaged people would be. So I'm very pleased that people are still digging it.
And
even though it's people who are fighting against us. Whenever there's a big battle scene and there's the American blue coats and the English red coats, I always go up to the red coats and say, we can still win it, lads, we can still do it. But they're all American, so they laugh at me.
Is it, now I read this online when I did some research, so you'll forgive me if it's not true, but is it true that one of your teachers at school, I believe it was a dialect coach, said that you would be very suitable for period pieces?
Yeah, she said it because one of the things at my drama school particularly was they try to work out what your usual casting would be, because once you start your career, then you can start playing against type, but you have to get your foot in the door. And so she said, you have to start speaking proper, like. And so she encouraged me to work on my received pronunciation and go for the period pieces. She said, look at you, you're not going to be in a Ken Loach film, you tit.
Boy, was she, have you ever spoken
and
to
actually,
her?
And I have, I'm Carol Ziegler, she's a delightful lady. And yeah, a lot of my career has been period stuff because of it.
It's kind of an interesting, maybe she should become a psychic on the show next season or something.
Perhaps. She'd be very good, actually.
But for you, though, up to what we've seen so far, what has been the most fun that you've had in an episode of Sleepy Hollow?
The most fun scenes?
Yes.
I really enjoy fighting Neil. I enjoy fighting Neil because Neil, I don't know whether you knew, before he was an actor, he was a boxer. And there is no way I could ever beat Neil in a fight. But Ichabod can beat Abraham, and so that's nice. I get to call my dad and say I beat a boxer in a fight.
Okay, so final question to Tom, this one. And it's going to be from this gentleman here. Hello, young man.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
My question for you is, if you could guest star on another show...
Game of Thrones.
Good choice.
Yeah. Definitely, but I'd have to be in the Lannisters because I don't want to film somewhere cold.